The characters, the creators involved in doing things with those characters, initially, it just felt like you could relate to it.
Snowflake is non-binary and goes by they, them. Snowflake has the power to generate individual crystallized snowflake-shaped shurikens.
There was an interview done about the state of comics by the president of Marvel. And he had a keynote address at Comics Pro at his annual meeting. And he, of course, spoke with ICV2, who covers a lot of the business stuff in comics. And there are some interesting things that I want to chime in on. So before I even give you my position, let's read up on it. And this is the question from ICV2, asking Dan Buckley. We'd like to start out with the big picture questions. We want to talk about the market, but let's talk about the medium. What's your evaluation of the state of comics, of the comics medium? Dan Buckley, it's in flux, but I think it's a healthy place. So he's saying that comics are healthy. Obviously, there's been a lot of change in distribution, specifically in our core comics businesses. As I mentioned in my keynote, there's also a great deal of growth and opportunity coming from the middle grade OGN, original graphic novel business, where there's a lot of new readers to be found, which is good. I would agree with that. If you asked me 10 years ago what was the thing I was most fearful of, I was most fearful in the fact that the newsstand business collapsed and we no longer had a place for people to try out comics or learn to read graphic fiction. Now we actually have a world of people who really want to read it. It's our job to go find them and convert them into our business. But I feel very good about that. So again, I would agree that the readership's there. The digital comic business is also going through a bit of a flux. I think a lot of people banked on that and got it wrong. I'm just going to be completely honest. I think that, and we saw kind of what happened with even like Comixology. I think there were a lot of people tricking themselves into believing that the digital aspect of comics was going to be the immediate future. And there were a lot of people investing in like what you saw with the Comixology, only to find out that there's not a lot of money in it. And still, what's unique to comics that I guess what's happened is people are having to realize that the unique aspect of comics is not to say that people don't read comics digitally. It's to say that it's still dominated by the physical market, and the place to really, really profit is in the physical market. Excuse me. I don't know if I just said digital. I'm referring to the physical market. That's what dominates comics right now. And that's what's unique. Instead of like things like gaming, which, you know, PC gaming as an example, is almost exclusively digital now. Comics are different, where, yes, there's digital comics and they've been around for a little bit, but it's not making up the majority of the market share. Of buyers, that's important. Buyers. I think people got tricked into thinking the Webtoons thing, right? Oh, I can get people are getting millions of views. They're not enthusiastic enough to reach in their pockets and fund this shit, though. So what good is it? That a lot of people know it's a thing or will view a thing if they won't buy it. That doesn't help your business unless you're treating it like a loss leader. And in that case, that's not a healthy business. That's you using it as a vehicle to sell other things, which that's what, for example, you see a lot with anime in the Japanese and how they use anime. Those are money sinks, bro. They're not making money off of that, but it's selling other product. But if we're talking strictly about the comic book aspect, I agree that there's a lot of readers. I wouldn't necessarily call it healthy, not for them for sure, but I do agree that there's a lot of readers, and of course it's on every publisher to target whoever it is that they're going to target. He says business models and vendors are trying to figure out, man, I've been saying this for the last damn 3 years. When I say I've been saying it for longer than that, but I've actually shown you through the Rippaverse this exact thing. Listen to what he says. Business models and vendors are trying to figure out how they fit in this new ecosystem. But I think there's a great opportunity for growth. I've said this time and time again. That's what everybody's trying to figure out how this looks. This is why I think a lot of people lash out at anybody that's done figured things out. I think that has to do with the fact that, well, it's a lot of uncertainty and people look at it like it's a threat to the status quo. And they want the status quo to remain. It's familiar. People have made a lot of money off of it. Not necessarily publishers, but people have made a lot of money off of the status quo. But I don't think that's the way of the future. I think the status quo, there is going to be no status quo anymore. It's going to be the wild, wild west. As I said, I think there's a lot of change, but I feel good about the industry. There's just some habits and new practices that we'll get to. I don't know exactly what they are, but we're experimenting and playing with different things to take advantage of those changes. Drilling down a little bit by channel, what are your thoughts on the state of the direct market? Let's really see what he had to say. I also feel the direct market is in a much better place than most people think it is. But I will admit there's some challenges. Oh yeah, I bet there as we try to find our way out of the pandemic. It's not the pandemic. See, I agree with a lot of what he said in the first question. I think right here is him trying to. I think coping is the improper term. Obviously, it's in his best interest to act like things are fine, for sure. He works for freaking Marvel. They are the major player in the direct market. So. Do I expect him to come out and be like, yeah, man, everything's just gravy, though some have? It does make a lot more sense for him to be a lot more optimistic about it than like being a doomer about it. We have to find a way to get people in the habit of going to the stores more. Let's get the Wednesday Warriors back. Here's the thing. And I think that he misses that because he goes on. I've already read a lot of this. I'll read a little more and I'll make my point because he doesn't really address what I want to. He says, I do think a lot of those people are still shopping in stores, but they're not browsing as much. That is true. People already, and that's the difference between today's day and age and the one before. A lot of people, you found out about new comics through the newsstand, right? Through either picking up a book, browsing, maybe it's in a book, another book in a book, right? Those days are long gone, bro. People know what books that they're gonna put on their pull list if they have a local comic book shop. They already know. They're being overloaded with information. They already on the internet. Everybody has a mini fucking computer in their hands, bro. They already know what you're dropping and what they're interested in. Not to say that maybe there aren't 2 or 3 people that may still go and I just want to see what's around. But those that are mostly browsing are going there to browse for back issues, not for what's out right now. If they're getting something right now, they already know what they're getting, man. And it's not the pandemic in itself more or less accelerated what was inevitable. It didn't really create a problem, though. I think that's more or less what he's alluding to. He's like, well, we tried to find our way out of that. No. It just accelerated the inevitable. We have to get them coming to the store more often, start browsing more often. Yes, we have to get new readers in there, but we have to get the ones that have been habitual readers. I think you lost a lot of those guys. Or lapsed readers to come into stores more often than they are. So he's at least acknowledging that they have a problem without being a doomer. And to say what's in their best interest as Marvel. This is what I would say. And I don't want anybody to get this wrong. We have, I think a lot of guys, shout out to Lone Star Comics, who is they're mycomicshop.com. We do a lot of business with them. They were ahead of this. As they moved to it become one of the major players in the digital store aspect of it, sending physical copies from a digital storefront, right? That was so smart of them because I'm going to be honest, definitely as people get more akin to just ordering stuff online, I don't know what role the local comic book shop is going to play in the future. There's a reason why a lot of them have been converted into more hybrid brands. You've seen guys that have been around for a very long time that have gone away now. It's just simply not affordable. They have to now sell everything else and the comics if they are going to exist. Okay? It's a different era. And definitely as there are more independent publishers that are taking advantage of this new setup, people are realizing that they don't, for their readers. Like, this is what we did. And I have to break this down because a lot of people don't seem to understand. Like, this is the direct market. Go watch my previous videos on this where I've done, like, actual breakdown. This setup makes no sense. It never made sense. I'm not at all convinced that it was ever a moneymaker for the actual publishers. They made money in the sense that they were able to stay afloat, or they were subsidized by an external entity, which the major publishers, for the most part, have always been subsidized by a bigger company. With that being said, this model with the new information age that we're in makes no sense. That publishers go to a distributor, which then sells the book to the retailers. There's a middleman there that is getting money off the top that is totally unnecessary. Now, that's not to say that everybody should be direct to customer. Not saying that by any means. What I think is going to have to happen is that a lot of these publishers are going to have to start, and they should start, investing in some way, shape, or form in their own distribution methods. Some can maybe get a little money off digital stuff. They've tried to do all that, but I'm talking about facilitating your own direct to customer sales, because as people have brought up time and time again, people are not discovering things through the direct market anymore. They're not discovering a lot of things through previews. They're not discovering a lot of things through browsing. Yes, there are people that do. I always have to preface that, because there'll inevitably be somebody saying, well, oh, he's saying nobody goes to the comic shop anymore. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that most people are going far more informed than what they have been in the future. So the necessity of it, and this is the one thing that you still have to find a solution for. There are those that don't want to pay for shipping. They rather get a pull list, go to their comic book shop, and that's one way they can get around that, right? Not paying for shipping, going directly to the comic shop, buying it, bam, getting out. That is something that the guys that are going directly to customers are going to have to learn to find out. And that was the one benefit. That's the one benefit that still to this day that comic shops have, right? Less discovery and more convenience than anything. But also, people are getting more and more accustomed. Each generation is getting more and more accustomed to having their things delivered at their front door, man, in a box that they can open. They want it quick, though, but they can open and then enjoy. And as more time passes by and more people get more accustomed to that, the less reliant that they become on going to the comic book shop. I'm optimistic about the comic book industry. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and think that and tell you that, like, for the big major players that they're going to be fine. I don't think they are. I think they're going to have to adjust for sure. But the benefit that they have that smaller guys don't is, well, they've been around for so long. People are going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and they're going to make a lot of money off of other non-comic book related stuff. So whether it be games, movies, I don't know about those anymore. But you know, merchandise, toys, stuff like that. They're gonna still rake in money from that. But I do believe if you want to make publishing profitable, I'm talking putting books in the hands of the customers. If you want that aspect to be in the black or the green, you're gonna have to find creative ways to make that profitable, because it's gonna look a lot different in the future. And I think everybody needs to get ready for it. You have to. Thanks for watching. Right now, the Rippaverse is in the middle of our latest campaign, Yaira #1, which was written by the Saskas. Head over to Rippaverse.com, pre-order, and check out our first live-action trailer and the latest Rippaverse Studios production, Y'all Be Easy.